Hello, my name is Matt Shar, and today I am going to explain a very common argument that is used by skeptics, known as the God of the Gaps argument. A God of the Gaps argument is used when a skeptic believes that a theist is using God as an explanatory device to fill a gap in our scientific knowledge. The skeptic will generally suggest that our argument could fairly be phrased in the following way. The skeptic mistakenly believes that we are saying, scientists cannot explain how the universe began, therefore God must have created it. In reality, the skeptic is misunderstanding our reasoning in a couple of different ways. In the first place, even if scientists were able to provide a comprehensive description of the physical processes taking place at the moment when our universe came into existence, that would not in any way impact whether or not God was the cause. The natural sciences are used to study physical processes within the material universe, so scientists would only be providing a physical description of what happens when a universe begins. This physical description could not be used to determine what, or who, existed prior to the universe and caused it to come into existence. To illustrate this point, imagine a pot of water is boiling on a stove. A scientist can describe the process that produces the flame and how it heats the water. However, it would be irrational to think that a scientist could tell you whether or not a person put the pot on the stove, simply by describing the physical processes that resulted in the water boiling. The physical description would only be able to explain how the water became hot once the pot was on the stove. In order to ascertain whether or not a person was the cause of the pot being there in the first place, the scientist would have to reason by upward inference from the effect to its cause. An upward inference is defined as reasoning to the cause of an effect by assessing the characteristics of the effect. In this instance, the effect, a pot of water boiling on a stove, the upward inference, a person put the pot of water on the stove, then turned it on. The natural sciences can be used to describe the physical processes that took place when our universe began, just like they can be used to describe how the water is heated. However, discerning what, or who, caused the physical processes to begin in the first place would require reasoning by upward inference from the effect to its cause. In my last video, entitled Who Created God?, we discussed the fact that there must have been an uncaused first cause that brought our universe into existence. Once we have established the existence of an uncaused first cause, we can make a series of upward inferences from the effect, the universe, to its cause, a creator God. As an example of an upward inference, if you saw a very complex painting, you would make an upward inference from the effect, the painting, to its cause, an artist. If a person was to argue that the painting was produced by another painting, an explosion, or an infant, you would be reasonable in rejecting their hypothesis, because none of these things possess the explanatory resources required to explain the existence of the painting. When we think about the universe as an effect, we can use the same kinds of upward inferences to discern that God is the cause of our universe that we would to discern that an artist is the cause of the painting. The effect we know as the beginning of the universe marked the origin of space, matter, and even time itself. An enormous input of energy was required to bring about this effect. Therefore, the steps in our upward inferences can be written out in the following way. Effect. Space, matter, and time came into existence at some point in the finite past. Upward inference. Whatever caused space, matter, and time to come into existence cannot be within space, made of matter, or subject to time. Therefore, the cause of the universe must be non-spatial, non-material, and eternal. Effect. A massive amount of energy was released at the beginning of the universe. Upward inference. Whatever caused the universe to begin must be extremely powerful. So far, we have reasoned by upward inference that there has to be a non-spatial, non-material, eternal, and extremely powerful cause of the universe. However, this still does not tell us whether the cause is an impersonal force like gravity or a personal agent. The fact that the first cause is a personal agent can be inferred from several different aspects of the material universe. For example, the fact that the eternal first cause brought about a temporal universe. An impersonal and mindless cause will bring about its effect automatically. As an example, consider a mindless force like gravity as the cause of this ball falling. If gravity had been operative on this ball from eternity past, the ball would have been falling from eternity past. The ball would not just begin to fall at some point. it would always have been falling. In the same way, if a mindless force existed from eternity past, and its properties were such that it would cause our universe to exist, then the universe would have existed from eternity past. However, the universe began to exist, so it is more reasonable to believe that the beginning of the universe was more like a ball being thrown up, or being held until it was allowed to fall. Both of these options require a person to make a choice. Therefore, the best explanation for the existence of an eternal cause, which brings about a temporal effect, is that the cause is a person who chose to bring the universe into existence. There are also many reasons to think that the cause of the universe is an extremely intelligent personal being. All of these boil down to the fact that we always make an upward inference to a designing intelligence anytime we observe anything that has the following qualities.
We are rational in making an upward inference to a designing intelligence anytime we observe a mechanism that is fine-tuned, that is extremely complex, that is built according to a mathematical structure, that is composed of multiple integrated parts which produce an effect that is greater than the sum of its parts, that functions according to a logical ordering principle, and that has an incredibly low probability of forming accidentally. All of these things are true of the universe.
There is never a time in which we observe a complex and delicately balanced mechanistic system like a watch or a computer and think it exists by accident. Whenever we see something that bears these qualities, we always make an upward inference to a designing intelligence. Therefore, it is reasonable to think that the universe was also created by a designing intelligence. At this point, we have reasoned by upward inference from the effect, the universe, to its cause, a non-spatial, non-material, eternal, incredibly powerful, and extremely intelligent personal being. This is how theists have always described God. At no point did we use God as an explanatory device to fill a gap in our scientific knowledge. We have arrived at our belief in God's existence and His role as the Creator by using a form of reasoning that we use routinely in everyday life. Therefore, the skeptic is mistaken in charging us with using God of the gaps reasoning. In summary, we learned that skeptics accuse us of using God of the gaps reasoning because they think we are arguing that science cannot explain the origin of the universe, therefore God is responsible, when in reality we are reasoning by upward inference from the effect to its cause. Then we learned some of the reasons for our making these upward inferences, including the existence of an eternal first cause with a temporal effect, and the complexity of the universe implying a designing intelligence. In closing, the God of the gaps argument exists as a result of a breakdown in communication between theists and non-theists. We need to remember that the communication problem might be our fault. We should humbly accept responsibility for any lack of clarity on our part and patiently clarify the steps in our reasoning, even if we have to do this repeatedly. Any knowledge we possess was given to us as a gift from God. So in the words of our Lord Jesus, freely you have received, freely give. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.